You think you're being kind by tolerating certain behaviors, but what if I told you that Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the ancient world, would have walked away from you immediately? There are 3 behaviors so toxic, so destructive to your soul, that even the most patient Stoic philosophers drew a hard line in the sand. And if you're accepting these behaviors in your life right now, you're not just hurting yourself, you're betraying everything that makes you human. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire spanning 3 continents, commanded legions, and held the power of life and death over millions. Yet this same emperor, who showed mercy to enemies and forgiveness to traitors, had 3 absolute deal breakers, behaviors he would never, ever tolerate. These weren't arbitrary rules or royal whims. They were based on 2,000 years of Stoic wisdom about what it means to live with dignity. But here's what's shocking. Most people today not only tolerate these behaviors, they actually enable them, thinking they're being compassionate or understanding. The first unacceptable behavior: deliberate disrespect. Picture this. You're in a meeting and your colleague consistently interrupts you, talks over your ideas, and dismisses your contributions with eye rolls and sarcastic comments. Sound familiar? This isn't just rudeness, it's deliberate disrespect, and it's psychological warfare disguised as social interaction. The Stoics understood something we've forgotten. When someone repeatedly disrespects you, they're not having a bad day, they're testing your boundaries to see how much abuse you'll accept. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "How much trouble he avoids who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does." But notice, he didn't say tolerate what your neighbor does to you. There's a crucial difference between not caring about others' opinions and allowing them to actively harm your peace. When someone deliberately disrespects you, whether it's your boss, your partner, your friend, or even a family member, they're sending a clear message: I don't value you as a human being. And the moment you accept that message, you're agreeing with them. But why do we tolerate it? Because we've been conditioned to believe that setting boundaries makes us difficult, that standing up for ourselves is selfish. We tell ourselves stories. They're just stressed. They don't mean it. I'm being too sensitive. But here's the brutal truth the Stoics knew. Every time you accept disrespect, you teach people that's how you deserve to be treated. The second unacceptable behavior: emotional manipulation. Now let's talk about something even more insidious. Manipulation. This is when someone uses your emotions, your care, your love against you to control your behavior. The guilt trips, the silent treatments, the explosive anger when you don't comply, the gaslighting that makes you question your own reality. The person who says, "If you really loved me, or you're making me feel ... while making their emotional state entirely your responsibility. Stoics called this tyranny of the emotions, not their own emotions, but allowing others to use emotions as weapons against you. Epictetus, who was literally a slave before becoming one of history's greatest philosophers, understood this better than anyone. He said, "No one can hurt you without your permission." But emotional manipulators are experts at making you give that permission without realizing it. Here's how it works. They create a crisis, real or imagined. They make you feel responsible for their emotional state. They offer you a solution involving you sacrificing something important to you. And when you comply, they've trained you to prioritize their emotions over your own well-being. It's a cycle that gets stronger every time you participate in it. The question isn't whether this is happening to you, it's whether you're ready to admit it. The third unacceptable behavior: consistent boundary violations. The third behavior that would make a Stoic walk away immediately is consistent boundary violations. This is when someone repeatedly ignores your clearly stated limits, your no, your requests for space or respect. It might be the friend who keeps borrowing money despite your polite refusals, the family member who shows up unannounced despite your requests for advance notice, or the partner who continues behaviors you've explicitly said make you uncomfortable. But here's where it gets psychologically complex. Boundary violators are often charming, apologetic, and temporarily respectful after each violation. They know exactly what they're doing. They test your boundaries like a burglar testing doors, looking for the ones that aren't locked. And every time you let a small violation slide, you're essentially handing them the key to bigger violations later. The Stoics understood that boundaries aren't walls, they're gates. You decide who gets to enter and under what conditions. When someone consistently violates those boundaries, they're essentially saying, your autonomy doesn't matter to me. Your consent is optional. Your comfort is irrelevant. And the terrifying part, they're usually right, because we keep letting them in anyway. But here's the twist that even most Stoic scholars miss. The real reason these behaviors are unacceptable isn't because they hurt you, it's because tolerating them hurts everyone around you, including the person doing them. When you accept disrespect, manipulation, and boundary violations, you're not just enabling their bad behavior toward you. You're teaching them that this is how relationships work. You're giving them permission to treat everyone else in their life the same way. Think about it. If your boss can disrespect you without consequences, why would they treat other employees differently? If your partner can manipulate you emotionally, what's stopping them from doing it to friends, family, even future partners? When you tolerate unacceptable behavior, you become complicit in spreading that toxicity throughout their entire social network. So what would Marcus Aurelius do? He'd apply what the Stoics called the discipline of desire, wanting only what you can control and accepting what you cannot. You cannot control other people's behavior, but you absolutely can control your response to it. Here's the Stoic framework for dealing with unacceptable behaviors. Step 1. The recognition. The moment you recognize deliberate disrespect, emotional manipulation, or boundary violations, you acknowledge it internally without judgment. This person is choosing to treat me in a way that violates my basic human dignity. No excuses, no justifications, no stories about their past or their stress levels. Step 2. The communication. You communicate your boundary once, clearly and calmly. I don't accept being spoken to that way. I won't be responsible for managing your emotions. I've told you my boundary, and I need you to respect it. You're not asking for permission, you're stating a fact about how you will be treated. Step 3. The consequence. This is where most people fail. When they violate your boundary again and they will test you, you implement immediate consequences. You leave the conversation. You end the relationship. You create physical or emotional distance, not out of anger or revenge, but out of and respect for what it means to be human. When you stop tolerating unacceptable behaviors, something miraculous happens. The people who truly care about you adjust their behavior because they value the relationship more than their right to treat you poorly. And the people who don't adjust, they reveal themselves as people who never belonged in your life in the first place. Marcus Aurelius spent his entire life surrounded by people who wanted something from him: power, money, favor, access. But his closest relationships were with people who respected his boundaries, who engaged with him honestly. who treated him with basic human dignity regardless of his imperial status. These weren't perfect people, but they were people who understood that real relationships require mutual respect. You are not a rehabilitation center for people who refuse to treat you well. You are not a training ground for basic human decency. You are not a practice partner for someone learning how to be in healthy relationships. You are a complete human being deserving of respect, honesty, and consideration. And the moment you truly believe that, not just intellectually, but emotionally, spiritually, completely, your entire life changes. The 3 behaviors we've discussed today aren't just unacceptable because they feel bad. They're unacceptable because they're incompatible with human flourishing, yours and theirs. When you stop tolerating them, you're not just protecting yourself. You're upholding a standard of human interaction that makes the world a little bit better for everyone. Remember, the people who respect your boundaries are the people who deserve access to your life. Everyone else is just practicing on you for someone they'll respect later. Don't let them practice on you anymore.